What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. C-Mount for Life here with another PGA Tour 2K25 video. Today, we're going to do a deep dive and go through the brand new dev diary for MyPlayer and MyCareer. If you like this content, be sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications when new content arrives. Let's dive in. Cheers. All right, here we go. First, diving in here. Shot first frame of this dev diary. Here we are, Quail Hollow, looks like the 18th hole. I'm guessing it's during the PGA Championship. And look, we are hitting an approach shot. And then here is that Evo swing that was already kind of discussed with that offset swing line. Boom, I love it. Developer Diaries, MyPlayer and MyCareer overview.
Hey golf fans, welcome to our first Developer Diary episode.
First, right? That means there's more.
For PGA Tour 2K25. My name is Lawrence Forster, and I'm a lead designer on the project.
What's up, Lawrence?
And my name is Ken Alguire. I'm a lead producer for PGA.
Oh, Ken, man, I love you, buddy. But look at this sexy stinger here in the background. Gotta love it.
Tour 2K25. Today,
we got a tee shot, Quail Hollow. I can dig it. 292 on this driver. I think that might be the longest driver I've seen so far.
we're excited to run you through all the changes and additions.
Ooh, what do we got here? We got a leg putt, number one, shot type leg putt. I don't think I've seen that yet, any of the coverage, so that's new. And it looks like we've got some sort of practice facility, practice training mode here, or maybe a mini game of some sort for putting.
We have made to both our flagship mode, MyCareer, as well as our MyPlayer customization and
Oh man, Oakmont. I cannot wait to play Oakmont, you guys. God damn, it looks real good.
progression systems.
Let's kick off by walking you through everything you can expect from
All right, so MyCareer. So I would say the two big changes right here for 2K25 are, of course, including 3 of the 4 majors. Absolutely massive here. And then the second thing is going to be in this middle section. We did have rivalries, we did have sponsorships in the previous games, but this whole other section here with answering questions from the media and doing interviews and this whole personality concept and kind of the RPG elements are completely brand new.
MyCareer within PGA Tour 2K25. In MyCareer, the player will choose where to start their journey.
So this was very similar. 2K21 did this, 2K23 did the same thing. So essentially you get to pick, where do you start your career? In Q School, Korn Ferry Tour, Korn Ferry Championship, or just jumping straight into PGA Tour.
Either in Q School, on the Korn Ferry Tour, or jumping directly to the PGA Tour. Players compete in tournaments.
So first look here, remember, we only have 11 playable pros, but there are a ton of pros that are in the game, right? Rory, Ramey, Schauffele. So most, if not all of the pros are going to be represented on leaderboards. And obviously we only have, 11 of them to be able to play with. But I've also never seen this like real-time kind of leaderboard shuffling, which is pretty cool.
In a schedule that mirrors the real-life PGA Tour, as they vie for points, with the goal of finishing in the top 70 and earning a spot in the playoffs.
Oh man, this Pebble Beach shot right here. I cannot wait playing on this course. It is such an upgrade visually. And then look, we also have, looks like the same terminology as returning from previous games here. Firm fairways, firm greens, medium fast green speed, afternoon and overcast. So that's not surprising there. Then kind of a cool leaderboard here of the FedEx Cup standings.
With a chance to compete for the coveted FedEx Cup.
There it is, the FedEx Cup.
A pillar of ours at HB is to give players the most.
So what's interesting about this shot here, first thing that pops up is number one, we have a first look at the new HUD here, top left. I like the look of it. So kudos there. The other thing here is this is kind of a dramatic camera angle. So I'm kind of curious exactly what preceded this, right? Is this a good shot that you just hit in? Are you putting for the win here? Is that why it's doing this camera angle? It'd be interesting to kind of see if there are some contextual type camera, dramatic camera views.
Authentic PGA Tour experience possible. So let's jump into some.
So I noticed right away here that you can still choose how many rounds that you want per event in career mode, which is awesome. It looked like it was 1, 2, and 4 for the 3 options there, which makes a lot of sense. And there's some other options here. We'll actually talk about that a little bit later in the trailer.
But key additions this year. We're really excited to be able to include
Man, Royal Port Rush looks really, really good in this.
with 3 of the major championships this iteration. We'll be including the
Of course, this is Quail Hollow right here for the PGA Championship. I love the gallery, man. Look at how thick and just dense the gallery is. Looks fantastic. I also really like these stands and everything. It's really cool looking.
PGA Championship, the US Open,
There's Oakmont, baby.
and the Open Championship,
And of course, Royal Port Rush for the Open.
alongside their courses for
There's Quail Hollow, I think that's the 18th.
the 2025 season.
Perfect Swing.
Forgiveness.
All right, first off, before we get to the Perfect Swing stuff here, just this shot in the trailer is gorgeous. The lighting going through these trees over here, just I like kind of the gallery just in certain spots, but like again, very dense little clumps of people, and just I love just the high res and the higher density textures here, right? The grass looks great, onto the rough. All this stuff looks fantastic. Now we're going to be jumping in here to the Perfect Swing. So right here, there's a tee shot of 297. So I guess that one now is the longest tee shot we've seen in terms of a driver. This is just a standard tee shot.
The thing every golfer looks for in their clubs. But what if you could have it in your swing too? Introducing Perfect Swing.
So the thing you'll notice here, and what I've kind of seen, is this Perfect Swing is kind of a rebranding of the beginner difficulty. And I kind of applaud it because you want to be inclusive with that sort of stuff. I think sometimes people play on beginner, they think they're not good enough. They kind of see it as a negativity thing. And that shouldn't be the case. People should just play these games however they want to play them. And so I do like kind of the upgrade and changing of the beginner difficulty and just turning it into Perfect Swing. Now, I am a complete difficulty screen nerd here, so we're going to spend some time here because there's some cool stuff here that I wanted to cover. Number one, it looks like we still have the 6 difficulty levels in terms of the swing and just the presets. So instead of beginner, we've got Perfect Swing, and then we've got amateur, I'm assuming, Pro-Am, Pro, Master, and then Legend. Now, as we kind of swing down here, first thing I see is Rhythm Preference, which is interesting because I think this is kind of the new tempo. So I'm kind of wondering what the options are here. Is it on, off, and then like only in certain situations, or is this like the open option? It'll be interesting to see what that is once we get the full game. Now below that, we've got our swing bias input offset. So this is super interesting, and I'm wondering if this is how you can toggle on and off, whether you want your swing to be straight or whether you want it to be offset for that fade and draw reset for your golfer, right? That's what I think that is. The next one here is the swing context input offset. Now, I am not quite sure what this is. I can maybe take a couple guesses, but I'm also interested in the fact that there's 4 options in here to toggle through. So I just love the flexibility that they continue to give us within these difficulty menus to kind of craft the type of golf game that not only do we want to play, but also the type of societies that we want to run, because this also governs those too. My guess on what this is maybe there are things within the game that maybe change the angle, like hitting draws and fades, or maybe your lie and things like that. So I'm wondering if maybe that is this option, and they have a bunch of different options here to kind of craft like what you want it to impact or not. Now below that, I love these next two here. I've been asking for this for a while. They finally moved the vibration into the difficulty menu. Cheers to HV for this. I absolutely love this. Now, the thing again that kind of piques my interest here is 4 options, right? So I'm wondering here if it's on, off, maybe like putting only, or something else, right? Chipping, maybe short game. I don't know. I'm kind of wondering what the 4 options are. So for those wondering what this is the swing aid when you go back to swing in your backswing and your controller rumbles when it gets to the desired power. And I think this is a huge aid for people. I actually play with it off, and I have since 2K21. And I understand why you would play with it on. This is more of a preference for me, but it is a big advantage, I think, for people, especially if they don't play with the power meter on. So I'm so excited for this to be in the difficulty menu, and I will definitely be turning this off in my societies. So be ready for that. Now, the next one is also brand new here, lie range, which is also very intriguing. So it looks like we have classic And then I'm wondering what this second option is, right? So what does this mean? Does this mean that, the classic I would assume is what we always know, right? It shows that lie window, right? You hit into the rough and you have 76 to 82% lie range, right? So I'm wondering if this like removes that, because I think that would be amazing. I've talked about this a lot in my streams about how maybe just removing some of the general math in the game would help make it more difficult and just a little more sporadic and a little more like real golf. So that would be an outstanding option, and I'm super happy that I see that there. I think everything else in here looks about the same. There is a long scroll bar here, so of course there might be some other things down below as well, but this is all we can go off of. But super happy about those 4 or 5 items here that are included. So bravo there, cheers.
Our goals, alongside making the most authentic golf game on the market, is delivering the most accessible golfing experience. Our Perfect Swing difficulty setting does just that. As our new players get used to the complex game of golf, they can have this option to ease that journey, with a swing, really unlike mine, sure to find its target.
Really, really good, again, for accessibility, and I do like kind of the rebranding of it as well.
And for those low handicappers who just want to kick back.
So this is just another quick look, right? It's on Pro now. So our swing, or our XP multiplier went from 1.0 to 1.5, right? So for those that are kind of aware of this, the more that you make this game difficult, the more you turn off the aids and make just stuff generally more difficult within your swing, this multiplier goes up, and then that, of course, will impact the amount of XP that you earn throughout your rounds.
Relax before jumping back into MyCareer. Perfect Swing is perfect for them too.
All right, we're going to jump into Evo Swing. I just love pausing it on Pokemon, I got to be honest.
Our franchise has been built on stellar gameplay, and Evo Swing is taking it.
Okay, so before we dive into this, again, another tee shot here. I think this is number 18 at Sawgrass, I believe. So again, another look at this offset swing. So no longer is it that straight line. It's actually down to the right, up to the left. So I don't know if this is maybe a fade offset here. Just a regular tee shot, 292. Now, what's going to happen here, what's really cool, is you'll start seeing the true shot shaper come into play here, and the hitter is going to start hitting a fade, I believe, or a draw. I'm sorry, they're going to try to hit a draw.
Next level, taking into account the.
So see that? So as they move this stick right to hit the draw, this line actually shifts to more straighter, or more straight. I'm sure it's straight. English come in. But either way, so you'll notice that as you start hitting draws and fades, it actually will shift the angle of that line, which is pretty crazy. And what's cool here, and what you'll notice, and there's actually something I'll comment on here, is it actually will skip. Once it gets to kind of the bottom, it'll actually skip over.
Angle,
see that, how it kind of like locked over? And I'm assuming they're doing that to try to prevent people from, kind of, making this a straight up, straight down. And I got to be honest, I'm a little bit concerned that this can still be a thing. Let me just back
taking
this
it
up.
to the next level.
So like, it feels like as this moves, this outer gray area should probably get a lot shorter.
Count the lie.
You can still get that pretty close to straight up and down. And I can see that possibly being exploited by some of the higher end people as well. So I think that's something that they have to consider. Now, the idea of all this on paper, I think, is absolutely fantastic. I love it. Like, the more you move, the more the tougher it kind of gets to hit those shots, and it makes a lot of sense there. But I do think there's a touch of a red flag here on just how straight up and down this is, because my question would be is, what stops people from putting it like this and then just simply swinging straight up, straight down, which would be an easier swing, right? And then I wonder just how penalizing a slight miss here and a slight miss there would be, and if that would be playable throughout an entire round. So keep that in mind, HB. It's something to maybe look at. And again, I don't know what difficulty this is on either, so that's the other side of it.
The golfer's natural.
But I really, really like this.
Ball flight and any shot shaping when determining the swing input for each shot. Evo Swing emphasizes.
And then let's take just a quick peek at the Evo Swing, right? So down here, the push, a little bit of an overswing as he went overpowered a little bit. Rhythm was a little bit fast, so it's adding a touch of power there. And then contact is closed, right? So contact was hitting on the left side of this middle spot, which means it's a closed. And then that's going to go ahead and give you kind of that power draw or kind of light hook ball flight.
Precision inputs over the swing timing of the past.
All right, so here we go. We have another approach shot. So this is a new shot type again in the game. I'm not sure exactly what it means. Maybe it just means you can be like more precise or something on the approach, and maybe it clicks in at certain clubs or maybe just certain distances from the hole.
Don't worry, 3-click has evolved right alongside swing stick.
Well, this is the first time that they've mentioned 3-click in anything. So while I did assume that 3-click was going to make a return, it is great that we do get confirmation for those 3-clickers out there. So it will be coming back. I was kind of hoping they would give us, maybe some visual of what that looks like. So maybe in future videos we can get a video of what that 3-click UI looks like and how it'll work, if it'll be the same, etc. I'm curious because if they split the swing up into 4 parts now, does 3-click have an extra click in it, or is there anything that they're kind of doing to match that?
Both swing input types are made up of
Here's another tee shot with Tiger Woods.
4 parts, as you can see here in our swing feedback meter. The transition, the expanding ring, sets the power and distance control. During the backswing, the swing path at the bottom sets the push-pull of the shot. The rhythm, the collapsing ring, applies a distance control modifier to the shot.
So interesting. So I was wondering what that center circle was when they showed some of this last week. And it's good to get confirmation that center circle represents essentially your rhythm or tempo.
During the downswing, the contact at the top sets the hook slice of the shot.
All right, out of that bunker.
Okay, so based on that, let's go ahead and dissect this shot here with the Evo Swing feedback. So again, there's 4 parts to the swing. All right, so let's just use the right stick and I'll kind of walk you through it. The swing path is the down motion on the swing stick. That represents your push and your pull swing path. So if you push it, and this is for a right-handed golfer, if you go down and on the outside over here, that is a pull. And if you go down on the inside, that is a push. Now you might be wondering, well, why is that, right? Shouldn't inside be pull and outside be push? Well, here is probably what I'm guessing they are doing. I think that they're kind of trying to resemble what you would do with a golf swing. Like if you take your club back away, you're going to need to come back in to finish the swing. That's a pull swing. So it's an outside in representation, which would mean a pull. And if you take it on the inside, when you take your club back, then you're going to come back outside. That's the inside out representation, which would be a push. So even though I think visually it doesn't quite make sense, I think in a golf sense, it does make absolute sense. Now, next is your transition. This is just in relation to your power, right? Where do you put that marker? Usually it's at 100%, right? But sometimes you'll move it into 90 or 95 or wherever you put that marker. And then you have to swing to that power and then swing through. That transition rating is essentially what your wiggle room is there, where your pause is on that power and how close you come to that desired power. That would be your transition. So it looks like in this case, they were actually shooting for a 90% swing and they got it perfectly. Now the rhythm and the contact, this is different now for 2K25 because in previous iterations, the tempo essentially did 2 things. If you had fast tempo or slow tempo, it would add distance if it was fast, but it would also add that like hook spin, right? And severity would just depend on how fast. And then on the slow side, you would lose distance, but then would also add that slice spin. Again, severity would depend on just how slow. So what they've done with 2K25 is they've actually split that into 2 parts now. So now we've got rhythm, which is just simply measuring your tempo, right? How fast do you go from down at 6 o'clock up to 12 o'clock? Or I guess with the new swing, maybe 5:30, 11:30, but either way, I think you get it, right? But all it's doing is it's measuring the speed in milliseconds down to up, and then it's setting a tempo for that, which it did in previous games, but all it's penalizing is your distance. So it's not going to add side spin or anything like that. So rhythm in this new game is still tempo, but it's only affecting distance. So if you're fast rhythm, it's going to add distance. If you're slow rhythm, you're going to lose distance. Now in this case, it's perfect rhythm. So it's a perfect shot. It's 100% of the distance that you got. And then the final part here is the second part of the current tempo system is now split into this contact measurement, which is brand new to 2K25. And all that this is represented by is the top of your stick when it hits the top here. So this section of your swing, if it hits the box, then it's a perfect swing. It's going to go straight. If it's left of the box, you're closed, and that's going to be kind of the current fast, very fast kind of penalization where it goes way left. It's a hook. It's got that hook spin to it, right? And then if you miss on the right side, that is going to be an open club face, which is going to be your slice penalizations. So once again, currently Tempo does both of these. In the new game, they've split that into two. It's now rhythm and contact.
To the green, let's go.
PGA Tour 2K25 includes.
So this is so good. I'm not sure exactly what shot type this is here. First off, this shot looks fantastic, but he's going to go ahead and kind of hit this down. I'm not sure if it's a chip or if it's a new shot type, but I absolutely love
the brand new high-resolution terrain system, complete with revised ball physics.
Now, he just mentioned too the high-res terrain. So it's clear, you know, we've seen some of this too in some of the screenshots and in some of the trailers, the sharpness to bunkers and just the sharpness to edges out on the course. So that makes a lot of sense. It kind of confirms that high-res upgraded terrain. And then again, the physics
allow the ball to roll and react to terrain with much more accuracy.
Now, I really wish they would have let us see that entire roll, because that would have been kind of amazing.
Than before.
Now, this is another really good shot. The colors, and I think this is a really good highlight of just how good this game looks moving to current gen, right? I just love just how these textures look. You can see just a lot more subtle movement here in some of the terrain, which again is probably because of that high-res terrain. And I love the lighting in the background and everything here. It's just a really, really good shot. We're hitting a chip shot here, by the way.
Our all-new shot prediction system allows us to predict exactly where your shot will go the moment.
So he's speaking here. This is essentially just for the audio. Now, I love the announcers, John. You're the man. But I typically, after a handful of rounds, I usually turn the announcer off. I do it in every sports game I play. It's just kind of my thing. But this is cool because I know that people will hop in my chat and they'll tell me, oh, John gets stuff wrong a lot, you know, because the audio cues weren't as perfect as they probably could be, right? The game would think you're going to land in a bunker, so he would make a comment about that, but then you would bounce out and you would end up in the rough or whatever. And then John would say, oh, you're in the bunker, and you'd be outside of it, so it'd be kind of silly. So essentially what this is talking about is their new prediction system is much better, and that the audio should be a lot more precise now.
The ball leaves the club face. This allows our commentators to react and.
This is our first look at a putt. So again, the putt stroke, the swing is offset, but the putt stroke is straight up and straight down. So that'll be interesting, kind of working back and forth between those two. That'll be kind of a cool new addition to just the game being more difficult. And then again, too, there's 4 parts of the putter now as well. They used to just have putt path and putt weight. No longer. We now have the transition, the rhythm, and contact. So you have to have good rhythm on putts. You have to have good contact on putts. So it's measuring 4 parts just like it is for the swing. So this is going to make putting a lot more realistic.
Real time, just as they would on TV.
Right on line, but just misses.
So good.
This is another really cool shot here. So first off, again, we look at the shot type. This is our first look at a punch shot. So for those filling out a bingo card of shot types, we can add punch to that. But I think this is another thing. The visuals of this are just awesome. Like, I love the mow lines here. I think those look fantastic. And of course, just the transition here from the heavy rough to the light rough onto the fairway. It just looks really, really good.
John McCarthy can roast you with even more accuracy than before.
Might be rough.
So I'm curious here on this bounce. I was hoping that maybe
you're welcome.
We would get some softer rough, and this
might be rough.
Looks like it might be a little bit softer. I mean, I know it's kind of a pretty slanted, weird bounce here, but I'm wondering if this is maybe improved in the new game.
You're welcome.
I do love the slamming of the club. Kind of wish he hit the ground there.
Players are now able to leverage.
So I wanted to talk about this. I know we saw a quick screenshot of this earlier, but essentially what this is pretty cool. This is brand new to the career mode, and they kind of pulled some of this from the EA golf game, where you can choose to play all of your rounds. You can, of course, choose to manually do it all in different, number of rounds and all those things. But you can also tell the game, hey, I only want to play 18 holes tonight, but I would like to play all 4 rounds and kind of get the full 4-round tournament experience. So what this allows you to do is kind of go through and decide, okay, well, I want to dynamically play like maybe just 3-4 holes a round. I'm not sure what the math adds up to there, whatever 18 divided by 4 is. But then you can basically say, okay, I want to play 1 round tonight, but I want it to take place over all 4 rounds of the tournament. And then you can tell it to kind of sim the other holes that you don't play. And then right here, you can choose what difficulty you want when you sim. I think low, like amateur, would be your player plays the best. And then as you move this up to, I would imagine legend is the last one, then your player doesn't play as well and the scores aren't as good while simming, right? Opponent difficulty returns, that was in the previous game, so you can set the difficulty of the AI that you're playing against. And then the conditions will just control just how hard or I guess very hard or very soft or how fast the greens are, just essentially the conditions that are on the greens and just around the course as you play your rounds. Of course, as you move that up, you're going to get more difficult conditions. And as you move that down, you're going to get easier conditions, softer greens, slower greens, things like that. Now, these other options here, I don't exactly know 100% what the options are underneath them, but like round length, right? We've got dynamic. So I'm assuming that this is where it will just dynamically jump around to certain holes per round. And it'll just kind of, you'll play hole 2 and then it'll sim the next 3 holes. Then you'll jump into hole 5 or 6 or something. You'll play holes 5 or 6 and then it'll sim the next couple holes. Then you'll jump into the hole 9 or whatever. I think that's what that will do. I'm real curious of just what the other options are here. And then holes to play is kind of the same idea. So these two kind of, I think, play with each other. I'm just kind of wondering what the options would be. I guess I just explained the holes to play, like it would jump around holes, and maybe the round length. So maybe it's like front 9, back 9, all par 5s or something, or all par 3s or all the par 4s. Maybe there's some options there for that. But I don't know, that I think that kind of feels more like holes to play. So either way, I think you kind of get what's going on here. And I'm assuming there are options to say, no, I don't want to sim. I want to play everything. So maybe that's this last one here, where it's like, I want to set this to 2-round events. And I want all of this to be like full, no sim. And then that way, if you do 2 rounds for the event, you play all 36 holes. And there's no simming, there's no nothing. But if you want anything else, if you want to do the full 4 rounds, then you can kind of pick and choose exactly how it works. And I think this is fantastic because I know there's different types of people that want to kind of play an entire season of golf, but like, how do you play 4 rounds, every single tournament? That can sometimes be a drag. I know I sometimes run into this with playing like MLB The Show with like 162 games or NBA games that have 82 games, right? So it's like, I love these sorts of options that allow people to play and interact with their career modes the way they want.
The game's simulation engine and their MyPlayer's current skills to dynamically simulate holes on a course, allowing the player to experience playing in a tournament, but in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah, so he just kind of talks about that there, right? Maybe you want to get the full 4-round experience at a major, but you don't have the time to be able to do that. So we'll just drop you in. You'll play, maybe 5-6 holes in round 1, 5-6 holes in round 2, 5-6 holes in round 3, and 5-6 holes in round 4, something like that. And then at that point, at least you can kind of experience that maybe birdie winning putt to win the tournament on 18.
That looked good for a while.
Players can participate.
So let's just take a quick peek here. This looks like the new MyCareer menu. So at the top here, we've got the home page, which is where we're at now. Messages, sponsors, rivals, stats, and settings. So this is pretty standard from what we have currently. I'll start here on the right. Shows your golfer, shows this personality kind of Paragon bar here. That's like an RPG style thing. We'll talk about this a little bit later. And then here's your follower count. So what I kind of noticed here is it looks like there's kind of pockets of the number of followers, like right now from 15 to 35. You're currently a breakout star here. So once this fills up, you'll then move to kind of the next label. And then there'll be a new bracket that's like 36K to, I don't know, 70K or whatever that number is going to be. That's how that will kind of work. Now, moving over to the left up here, looks like we're week 1 of, I believe this is a 33-week career mode. And then we've got the 4 majors with kind of the 5th being the players. So what's cool is after week 10 here, we got the players at Sawgrass. We have, of course, the unnamed tournament at unnamed course. And then we've got the PGA Championship, which is at Quail Hollow. And then we've got the US Open, which is at Oakmont. And then, of course, we've got the Claret Jug here, the Open, which is at Royal Portrush. And then finally, we've got the FedEx Cup, which is at Eastlink. Now, training. This is brand new to 2K25. And I like what they did here. They kind of broke this down into days of the week, which this is how a golfer's schedule really looks. So I like how they're trying to kind of pull in kind of the day-to-day, like what does a golfer do Monday? What does a golfer do Tuesday? And then, of course, they have the tournament Thursday through Sunday. And so they actually give you stuff to do prior to playing in the tournament. So we've got training on Tuesday. We got pre-tournament on Wednesday. We've got the tournament here Thursday through Sunday. And then it gives you kind of a heads up of, hey, your first kind of major tournament is coming up in 10 weeks. And then if you want to go look at the FedEx Cup standings, you can hop in here. Now it's going to hop into the training.
Participate in bite-sized training scenarios.
All right, so we have our first look at, of course, the current range. So shout out to Arctic Fury for kind of bumping this up to the current gen graphics. It looks fantastic. And what's kind of interesting about this too is you'll see he's going to hit this shot and there's going to be targets down range here.
Such as landing on the green within a certain amount of shots or sinking a few long putts.
So it looks like this is some sort of just swing training. I don't know if it's driver training. So it'll be interesting to see if like what different types of training, I don't know, modules they have here. Are there different clubs? Is there going to be one for chipping? Is there going to be one for like mid irons? Are there going to be ones where you're hitting draws and fades? Or you know what I mean? Like I'm wondering just how many of these they're going to have. We've already seen the putting one that was really early in this dev diary. And then here is the first shot at what I'm imagining is some sort of, you know, woods or driver training or something like that.
Successfully completing these scenarios will result in boosts to the player's attributes that carry into the next week's tournament.
So this is interesting and this is pretty cool. I actually had asked for something like this in my wishlist video back in April of last year, where they give you activities before and kind of in between events that you can choose to do or not to do. But when you do them, if you're successful, you get, you know, boosts just for that tournament. So that's what it's looking like is happening here with these training events. This only affects, it's like a short time boost just for this, short-term boost, I'm sorry, just for this tournament. And what's funny about this is, you know, they show the putting training earlier. They just now show either some sort of swing training or driver training or woods training, whatever it is. But then they show the actual boost from the putting training, I would imagine. So it looks like this is your scenario. You just did the putting training. And so you got all 3 objectives. And then it's going to go ahead and give you an XP boost for the tournament. I'm assuming this is putt weight for the tournament, rhythm, and then contact. So you're going to get a boost to these 3 putting attributes for the next tournament only. And again, that's just from doing the training for that week.
We also have practice rounds.
So the practice rounds are interesting because when I saw that, I thought, oh, that's really cool, right? They've kind of sorely needed something like this. And honestly, I kind of hope there's something like this in the society's side, because the amount of times I want to just hop into the course I'm playing and just kind of warm up or just get a feel for like the settings and everything. It almost happens every week. So I would love that if it makes it over there. Now, I digress. Now, in this, what I thought was cool and how they're doing this is, this seems like something like at first glance, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea. But after I do it once or twice, like I just don't see myself hopping into this. But I love what they did here. And it's kind of a two-part thing. Number one, it's just a 4-hole practice round. So you're not actually playing the full course. You're just jumping in, kind of doing a warm-up round, a warm-up couple of holes, and then that's finishing your practice round. And then it gives you objectives as well while you're doing this. So it looks like just, at least in this case, how you shoot in those 4 holes will then determine if you get an extra performance boost, again, for that week's tournament.
which will give the player an opportunity to get a lay of the land on a course.
Actually wanted to look here and see. It's hitting this, yeah, just a regular tee shot.
Which will give the player an opportunity to get a lay of the land on a course they are unfamiliar with. And special sponsor events that enable the user to progress their sponsor relationship even.
So this is what's interesting here is sponsors will be talked about a little bit later when we get to the more of the MyPlayer stuff, but they kind of shoehorned it in here. So this makes me believe that maybe instead of these practice rounds every single week, they might have specific sponsor-driven events during this kind of Wednesday part of your career mode. So maybe it is a practice round, but it's sponsored by the golf club or it's sponsored by 2K. And then like you have objectives during the 4 holes or 5 holes or whatever they give you for that kind of practice round, but you get bonuses for sponsors instead. So I'm curious kind of how much variety there is there and kind of how that will cadence out.
There.
All right, so now we're jumping into kind of the RPG elements, and this is completely new to this year's game. This is great. I've kind of applauded this over the last few weeks as we learned more about it. I think this career mode desperately needed something like this. We've seen a ton of this stuff in the last 10 to 15 years of a lot of other sports games, so it's nice that this finally has arrived in 2K25 for PGA here. So real quick, looks like we are at a press conference. We are, of course, at the podium here answering questions. And bottom right, we've got this kind of personality spectrum thing. And so we'll cover that a little bit later here. But it's kind of cool. It just kind of goes through and then you have some different answers that you can give to the different questions that are being asked.
In the conversation and interview system, players will begin to build out their own personality and their fan base. After a tournament is finished,
so then, of course, you get offered, like, do you want to do interviews? Do you not? I like this too, because you're not going to always want to do these things. So I'm kind of interested to see what is the incentive, how much impact all of this has. Is it going to be worth doing all the time? Is it going to be worth never doing, right? Like, hopefully they can find some happy medium where like maybe every couple of these you'll do, like every third one is worth doing or something. Because, you know, after a while, you might not want to do all of them. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how this kind of impacts stuff, at least in my mind.
Players will receive invites to press conferences and sit-down interviews with media outlets, messages from fellow PGA Tour.
So here is the messaging. First time we've been able to see this tab here. Looks like we got one from a magazine, from Tom Kim, from Troy Anderson, who was that reporter, from Will Salvatore, who's another PGA pro, and then Under Armour is a sponsor message. So I love that all of this is in here. The one thing that I'm a little concerned about is that it looks like all of these say week 3, week 3, week 3, week 3, week 3, right? So I'm wondering is it just saying week 3 because we're in week 3, or is this when the message was sent? Because if you're getting 4, 5, 6 messages every week, like I think that can be a little bit too much, and you'll start getting kind of banner blindness or like numbness to it. So the cadence and the frequency of this, I think, is going to be really important to if it's a good addition or not, at least for me.
Pros to compete in rival.
Oh, one other thing I wanted to kind of point out here that we just skipped over is you'll notice
media outlets, messages from fellow.
So now we're an influencer here, right? So earlier, I think we were like Rising Star or something. So now it's the influencer, and it's from 75 to 150.
PGA Tour pros to compete in rivalries.
Well, this is cool. So this is pretty similar, I would say, to there used to be kind of a rivalry system, or at least in 23 and in 21, where they would kind of message you and then you would accept or not. So it's interesting that they're kind of adding, it looks like some more personality to some of these interactions, right? Tom Kim is like, hey, don't forget the little guys here while you're ruling the golf world. And he says, congrats on the win. And then you can go ahead and respond back. And it looks like you're having kind of a conversation here. So again, how varied are these? But I think on paper, this is pretty cool.
And offers from major brands for sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah, so here's the sponsorship again. And this is similar to the previous game, right? 23 did a similar thing to this.
Performance-based sponsorship opportunities will arise.
And it seems like they reach out in the same fashion here. So currently, hey, you're leading the FedEx Cup standings. We couldn't be more thrilled about that. So in light of this, we want to extend an invitation to get an exclusive interview. So I'm not sure if this is really a sponsor-driven thing. But this is them reaching out. One other thing here too, here's this, again, this personality thing. So we're still bold. I'm curious kind of what this means, and maybe this will be covered here in a little bit.
result in a change to the player's popularity. Reaching each threshold of popularity will earn the user a chunk of VC to improve their MyPlayer.
Yeah, so this kind of goes into as you kind of reach those bracketed thresholds, then you get rewards for this.
Attributes, equipment, or apparel.
So I do like they're bringing this back. This was in previous games where you can have multiple outfits and you can set which outfit you wear for which mode, for which round, all those things.
Players will also be presented with various dilemmas that can make a direct impact on the course.
So this is a very interesting one here too, right? So just a quick question. Again, this interviewer reaches out, this reporter, and basically you have to do an either or choice here, right? So he says, hey, I've got two exciting options for you. You could take a leadership role in a program that provides sports equipment to children of need, or join a humanitarian mission trip to promote sports in developing countries. What do you think? And then you can go ahead and you decide which one you're going to pick. And it seems like in this next part of this dev diary, we'll kind of talk about this. This will lead to some sort of temporary boost for the next tournament.
For example, do you choose to hit the weights hard and gain some power, or focus on mobility and improve your rhythm?
See, so you might be presented later or at some point during week 5 or 6 or whenever that, hey, you got invited to a sponsor event. You know, do you want to go, or do you want to go lift weights? You know what I'm saying? Or do you want to go train, or do you want to go to yoga, or do you want to do something like stretch or whatever? So I'm wondering if you're going to be set with or you're going to be presented with these different things, and then you'll be able to choose them. And there's going to be kind of an either or, plus and minus system to kind of how that works.
Each decision will have a meaningful impact on your player's attributes in the next tournament. In every conversation, the user can build out their MyPlayer's personality.
So here's our first look at the different personalities, right? So bold has been the lion. Composed looks like it's in the middle, so that gray area. And then reserved is the blue side, or the elephant side. So as you're going through these interviews, it seems like you choose different stuff, and it will actually give you a heads up on what it's going to impact, right? This one's going to give you a plus for lion and a plus for the elephant, which again is plus bold, plus reserve. So it probably doesn't move it much, but you'll have other ones that only affect lion and only affect the elephant,
which can either be bold, reserved, or composed. Players are encouraged to pick the personality that resonates with them and stay consistent in the public eye to increase their popularity quickly.
So what's interesting here, and I was kind of hoping this would be covered for the followers, is I was hoping this would impact your gallery, like on the course, right? Like how many people are like around you? Is there like a dynamic gallery system in place for how many followers you have? I think that would be really cool if they were able to do that. If not, then maybe future games.
Their popularity quickly.
All right, quest system. This is probably one of the coolest things I've seen added to this game. And they're not like recreating the wheel here. We've seen this a lot in other games, but I love that they brought this to PGA 2K25, right? We've got daily, we've got weekly, we've got career quests, got all kinds of different kind of things to do, right? The checklist items. So right here, this is great. We're going to hop into the daily list. And I love this, right? Because we've got a daily quest to play Topgolf. We've got daily quests to play in tournaments, ranked match, and even Divot Derby. So what I love about all of this is it incentivizes people to play every day, and it incentivizes them to play all of the modes. And that's going to really be great, because I feel like there's definitely some modes here that get neglected, especially Divot Derby. So it's going to be really cool that this is going to populate all these modes a lot more often, especially with crossplay at launch, all these things. I absolutely love this.
Career journey and the rest of the game.
So here's a quick look at the Topgolf quest, right? It says you got to finish 2 rounds of Topgolf, and it gives you a day, 24 hours, I'm assuming is what that starts at, and you get some VC for doing it.
Is our new quest system. This new system is
Then here's the ranked match daily quest. Just finish 2 rounds in ranked.
Another way for players to engage with the game and earn.
And here's a quick look at the weeklies, which obviously just kind of expand on the dailies, I'm sure. Again, it says weekly quest, play 2K, but this gets a little more specific here, which is interesting. The 2K logo, and then down here, there is the Golf Club 1 logo. So I'm wondering what the differences between these two are. But this one specifically talks about finishing 5 rounds with Adidas gear equipped.
Different rewards on a daily, weekly.
Now we have the collections area, which seems to be collecting clubs, collecting clothes and swag, collecting balls, things like that. And so it looks like you get just kind of the collectathon going on, which is pretty cool. Right here, they show the hybrid hunt. Looks like you have 48 of the 50 hybrids in the game, and you're almost there. And once you get all 50, then you get given the 51st, which is cool.
Or seasonal basis.
And then here is kind of more of the seasonal stuff, round, right? Longest greens in regulation, regular greens in regulation, longest fairway in regulation. And then I'm assuming this other one's kind of regular fairway in regulation. And it looks like there's a lot more below this. So pretty cool stuff. You get XP for it all, and you get rewards. Talk about the gems a little bit later there with the club.
The main quest for MyCareer is the go.
So this is cool too. So totally overseeing your career mode. You have these GOAT checklist items. So you're just constantly chasing these in career mode, right? I love this because as somebody who played a little bit of the career mode, played through once, you play through once, you kind of move on. And I was doing other things, multiplayer, societies, ranked modes, all those things. And that's kind of what I was doing. But this gives reasons to kind of go back in and continue to play the career mode, which I do applaud. And this is pretty cool. It gives you the GOAT checklist. And so you have these 5 major tasks to complete throughout your career over multiple seasons. So you can get the Career Grand Slam, Outdrive and Outshine. Not sure what that means. Rise to Stardom. I'm guessing you get to a threshold of followers that's like astronomical, and it's probably some stardom label to it or something. Victory Pursuit. I'm not sure what that is. Looks like it might be over here. 5-time champ. And then build your brand. So maybe that's like maxing out a certain brand or something. And then if you're able to do all 5 of these, then you're rewarded with the gold clubs here. And it does look like there's obviously some other things within this, right? So Rise to Stardom is over here. Build your brand is over here. And Victory Pursuit over here. Victory Pursuit is over there too.
Checklist inspired by the career of our legendary cover athlete, Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods,
Players
y'all.
will need to win tournaments, complete the Career Grand Slam, earn fans, defeat rivals.
Here's our first look at the Rivals screen. It looks like it's pretty similar to what it is in 2K23.
And build their brand by signing sponsorships.
Here's Build Brand. Yeah, reach sponsor tier 1 with 2 different sponsors. So basically max out 2 different sponsors to get. Onto the MyPlayer.
Now it's time to take a look at MyPlayer to show you all the ways you can tailor your experience to become the ultimate PGA Tour pro in MyCareer.
Oh, baby, look at what I see right here. Body shape and muscle definition sliders. We missed you.
And rise through the ranks in multiplayer. Player customization in PGA Tour 2K25 has made a large step forward. The key additions we've made here are increasing the base head models per body type from 1 to 4, offering a larger variety of skin tones and customization options, increasing the number and style of different hair options, as well as additional facial and
I do like the additional beards. They do look really good too.
skin customization, adding the ability for players to customize their height and body types. We believe all these changes allow for greater representation and the ability to really let you create your ideal golfer. Choosing the archetype
All right, so we got a tee shot here. 279 driver.
you think best suits your playstyle
Getting into
is
the
the foundation
archetypes.
to build out the rest of your skills and attributes. In PGA Tour 2K25, you can
Oh man, look at this.
choose from green.
All right, so we're going to go through these. So it looks like we got the 5 archetypes coming back in terms of the total archetypes, but it does look like we've got a few new ones, right? Greenskeeper is coming back from 23. Powerhouse is also back from 23. And Sculptor is back from 23. The 2 new ones here, Technician and Magician. Now, Technician seems to be kind of the new Rhythm archetype. So if you used Rhythm in the previous game, I think this one kind of matches that. And then the Magician one seems to be the old Woodsman archetype. Let's go ahead and go through these one by one. We got Greenskeeper here, specialist in putting skills and shaping shots. I'm sorry, is not very good at reading lies or shaping shots. So the strengths are putt path, putt contact, and correction. Correction, I haven't really seen what this is yet. Determines natural draw fade bias severity and the swing input angle offset required on pro difficulty. Oh, okay. So correction stat must control just how slanted your swing line is during certain situations. That is awesome to know. Okay. So that's good. So the greenskeeper is really good at putt path, really good at putt contact, and really good at correction. And so you can kind of see those stats that are mirrored there.
Powerhouse.
Next, we got Powerhouse. No surprise here. Strengths are power, transition, and rhythm. No reason to really go too far into that one.
Technician.
Here's our technician. We got contact, correction, and putt weight. So again, the contact there. So this really does mimic the rhythm archetype from 2K23.
Sculptor.
Sculptor, we've got shaping, rhythm, and transition.
And magician.
And then magician. Oops, let's go back there a little bit. Magician.
Powerhouse. Technician. Sculptor. And magician.
So we got recovery, contact, and transition. So those are your 5 archetypes. And here's one key here to remember and to kind of look at, and you may have missed this as it was going through. And this is very, very important for 2K25 because this didn't really apply to 2K23. What you'll notice is the ceilings.
Build the rest of your skills and attributes. In PGA Tour 2K25, you can choose from.
So what's important here is not only the stats you start with or that you have for each of these archetypes, but you'll actually notice that the length of these bars are basically the ceilings on how high these stats can go. Now notice how staggered this is. So not only are you picking kind of the strengths and weaknesses, you're also basically picking what stats you can actually build higher and what ones you have to kind of not have the opportunity to do that with. So like for instance, putt path contact and putt contact and correction are the greenskeeper's strengths. They're also the highest ceiling stats they have, right? So for instance, putt path, I'm guessing is like somewhere between 95 and 99. That's pretty close there to the top. I'm guessing this is probably like a 90 ceiling, and this is probably a 90 ceiling as well. Now, if you look at this, for instance, the power here, that's less than the 75. So this probably maxes out at like 70 or 73 or something like that, somewhere in there. So remember that, like you might want to be greenskeeper, but your power may max out at like 73. That might not be great if that's the route you want to go, or maybe it is. Maybe you are fine with that and you want to be a really good putter. But I think that's what's really cool, and I'm hoping that really shapes different strategies around picking
Powerhouse.
These archetypes, right? So in Powerhouse, of course, power is the highest, along with transition and then rhythm. Those are the 3 highest ceilings.
Technician, sculptor, and magician.
So again, keep that in mind. Now here is something brand new, and I am a little mixed on this, but generally very, very excited about this edition.
Can't decide what archetype to choose? Well, in PGA Tour 2K25, we've also added the ability to have multiple MyPlayers. This allows you to try all the different archetypes and progression paths and never.
So let's start with the really good stuff here. Number 1, quality of life on this, outstanding. The amount of times I have people that like ask me in chat or Twitter or Discord, and they're like, man, I really wish I could have multiple MyPlayers so that everybody in my family could have their own person. They're not always having to play under mine, whether it's spouses or kids or whatever, or people that hop in and they're like, I have a friend that comes over twice a week and I hate that he just has to use a guest or one of the pro golfers and he can't just build his own MyPlayer alongside mine. So now that is completely a thing of the past, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And just the flexibility here and the accessibility, I absolutely applaud that. Another couple of things I like is number 1, you can create golfers that maybe not in the game, right? Which is really cool. If you want to create Scheffler, go ahead and do so, right? To the best of your ability. So for those people that want to play as certain golfers that aren't in the game yet, at least, you can go in here and do this, which I think is really, really cool as well. There's one other thing, maybe we'll cover it later, but either way, so I think generally very, very good thing here. Okay. Or the final thing I would say is being able to just jump back in and start from scratch on a career mode type situation where you can just keep replaying the career mode over and over and over with a fresh character. So without like wiping your current character, that's another thing I think is fantastic with this. Now I have 2 probably pretty specific concerns with this type of setup. And again, it's probably only going to apply to the 0.5%, mainly the higher end of the competitive side. But here are my 2 concerns with having multiple MyPlayers. Number one is how is this governed when it comes to during tournaments or during rounds? And here's the two scenarios that I'm a little concerned about. So maybe HB can clarify if this is a thing, or if they don't have this in place, maybe they can add it. But concern number one is, how does this stop anybody from starting a tournament, hitting their tee shot as a powerhouse, backing out, choosing technician, coming back in, hitting their fairway approach shot with their technician, getting to the green, backing out, coming back in with greenskeeper to finish the hole? Are there any kind of safeguards in place to prevent people from doing that? Because I guarantee you people will. The second part of that is kind of an extension of that. So if you can govern it per round, can you govern it per tournament? Because I also would be pretty bummed if somebody could just choose the perfect MyPlayer that they have built for that round in a tournament. I think once you commit to a tournament, whether it's 1 round or 2 rounds or 4 rounds in a society or something like that, or ranked, 2K tours or whatever those end up looking like, it would suck if they just simply look at the conditions for the day. Maybe round 1, you're on the back tees, so you're going to use powerhouse that round. And then maybe second round, you're in the middle tees and it's a little bit wet conditions. So it's like slower and softer. So then you switch to a technician for round 2, and then maybe back to powerhouse for round 3. And then maybe you go greensman for round 4. Like, again, I like the flexibility of all of that. And I like the fact that you can do multiple MyPlayers, but these are the two concerns that I have that I think directly impact the competitive scene. And so I'm hopeful that maybe you can shed some light on that and just let me know if I should be concerned about that at all.
Feel locked into your first pick. Attributes are the core
All right, so on to the attributes.
MyPlayer stats that affect your base swing and putting mechanics.
Now, a few things I wanted to talk about on that screen. I keep being late on these pauses. Couple quick things here. So it does show your archetype right here. It does show your level right there with the overall. And we'll get to this top menu here in a little bit. But remember too, this was already introduced to us in the other trailers, so I'm not going to go through this. But these stats are tied to each other across the way here. So remember, as you raise stats over here,
stats that affect your base swing,
this goes up, the ceiling of this other one goes down. So the higher you make this, the lower this can be. And this goes all the way down with these 6 different attributes. So if you make correction higher, then swing path will go down. And that's not the stat itself, it's the ceiling of that stat. So the max you can make that stat.
And putting mechanics, and each archetype has its own set of starting attributes that are reflective of the specific playstyle. To improve these attributes, you use VC to apply attribute points. As you level up and assign attribute points to your different stats.
So what's interesting about this is kind of what he's saying, is you actually have access to a ton of attribute points right when you start the MyPlayer setup and into your career mode. But it takes VC to actually add those points. Now, based on how this all breaks down, it looks like it's 125 VC per point, at least on the points that they show here. I don't know if that cost goes up as you get higher, but in what they show in the video, it's 125 points per point to add. 125 VC, per points to add.
As you level up and assign attribute points to your different stats, your overall rating will increase, which is a measure of your total attribute ceiling. By default, each MyPlayer has enough attribute points unlocked to progress to OVR 85. Once you reach that level, you must earn XP through completing rounds and objectives to.
So that's important there. So I was a little concerned about, okay, if this can just max out and your points are already there for you, you can just pay to max it out. That is not the case. Now you can pay to get there a little bit quicker, right? So essentially what he's saying is you use VC to get to 85 overall, but that is where that ends. VC is no longer needed from 86 to 99. You need to play the game and you need to unlock attribute points through gameplay and not through VC. So again, VC essentially brings you from say 60 overall up to 85 overall. Once you hit 85, you kind of run out of the VC attribute points, and the only way to get from 86 to 99 is to play the game.
increase your OVR to the 99 OVR cap. Once you reach an OVR of 90 with one of your MyPlayers, you unlock Rebirth. This gives all newly created MyPlayers a pool of free attribute points.
So this is interesting, right? So clearly this multiple MyPlayer thing is a big deal, right? It's like the MyPlayer Multiverse here. So essentially what the Rebirth is once you get to 90 overall with a MyPlayer, you can start a second MyPlayer and they give you a free pool of attribute points that you don't need VC to spend. So maybe they give you a 20. I don't know what that number is, right? But instead of starting a new MyPlayer, and let's say they start at a 65, maybe they give you free points to get you up to 75, and then you need VC to get from 75 to 84 or something like that. Again, I don't know the numbers. I'm making something up here, but that's basically what they're talking about here with this Rebirth mechanic.
You can assign to a new MyPlayer right away to jumpstart your progress. Skills in 2K25
That was just a regular
have been completely overhauled with new.
There's an approach shot here. I really love the look of this too. This is another one of these shots in the trailer that just looks really, really good. I love how the trees look, the lighting, the bunkers, again, they're just a lot sharper here with these edges. Really, really cool.
Branching trees for each discipline.
It's funny how I can like now see when people are playing perfect swing, like this is a straight up and down swing. And then there's also there's no rhythm measurement here. When it pops up, it just does the 3.
Branching trees for each discipline on the course. Each tree is populated with a ton of all new shot types and the ability to improve.
So I'm going to pause on these. We're going to go through these one by one, but the early shots of these actually show us more than the later shots. So this first shot here let me go back to the approach.
Course. Each tree is populated with a ton of.
So here's our approach shot skill tree. Right, so it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total skill shots here. This looks like it's a choked approach based on over here. I'm guessing this is the regular approach. I honestly have no idea what this kind of spades one is or what this mountaintop one is. So maybe you guys can take a guess in the comments. It also kind of seems like you kind of use the attribute points here or whatever. It looks like you have a separate currency for these skill trees, and then you can respec as well, which is cool. But which it looks like it uses VC for that. But it looks like you kind of buy your way with these available points. Not buy like real money, but you just kind of work your way with these points, and then it slowly unlocks stuff. So I'm not sure if maybe as you buy this one and then that one, if this one then unlocks, or maybe some of these are locked to levels, right? Whether that's level of your golfer, level of your clubs, or just maybe archetypes. So that's kind of TBD at this point. It doesn't really cover enough to know. So I'm going to be really curious about the accessibility of all the shot types, and then what ones are locked, which ones aren't, and what determines if they're locked or not.
All new shot types and the ability to improve.
So here's recovery. We've got the punch shot, I'm guessing. We've got flop. And then this one's a super flop. They actually show it a little bit later. So I'll be curious to see what these other recovery shots are.
Proficiency for each type. There are 5 main skill trees.
Here we go with the bunker shot. We got splash. Got the rock or the blast, I'm guessing. Yeah, blast. It has it right here. And then we got the pick. So the pick one I'm interested in because that was very OP in the EA golf game. So I'm a little concerned that maybe some of these shot types might be a little bit too OP. And if they are, if there's 2 or 3 that are like must-haves or else you can't compete, it's going to be a little concerning because it's going to really kind of I guess pigeonhole you into certain metas that you have to be in, which kind of defeats the purpose of this entire system. This also gives us a little bit of a look at the cost of these. So it looks like it's 12 to kind of open up a shot. And then these little upgrades are 4 based on some of the stuff we'll see later.
Choose from. T skills.
Here's our T skills. We've got the regular drive, I'm assuming. We've got our choked drive based on the choked approach shot we saw earlier. And then we've got the stinger, baby. So good. I do not know what this one is down here. Maybe it's like a power drive or something. But it would be interesting to see kind of this whole layout.
Approach skills.
Here's our approach. Again, as I said, the earlier screen actually had this one unlocked. But right now we're hovering over this upgrade to the choked approach. and it's 4 currency here. So it looks like these upgrades are 4, and then each one of these upgrades adds some sort of proficiency boost to one of your stats. So this one here, if you buy this with the 4 points, it gives you a rhythm proficiency boost for the choked approach. So you can either choose to spread your points amongst getting all the shot types maybe, or making certain shot types really, really good, or anything in between.
Recovery skills.
Here's our recovery. So again, punch, flop, and then it goes down to the super flop here. So this one here, it's upgrading the flop. And again, there's rhythm. So there's a rhythm boost here for this.
Bunker skills.
I'm not going to spend time with the bunker skills. We were already there. And then here's green. This is our first time looking at the green skills. The chipping, we saw that earlier. There was a chip I talked about. There was a little chipped cup. And then this is just your standard putt.
Green skills. There are a limited number of skills.
So this is interesting here too, is it moves down, you buy this point, and then it unlocks the next one, which is a lag putt. So now we get a look at our first time here at the lag putt. A long range putt that sacrifices accuracy for distance forgiveness to safely get you to as close to the cup. So that's great. So that just means it gives you a lot of leniency when you do your putt weight swing on like longer putts, but your accuracy on that putt is probably kind of more penalizing. So the goal with that is you get closer to the hole, but your odds of making it are pretty slim. I'm hopeful we maybe see the Texas wedge as one of these, but we've got 1, 2, and 3 here. So I'm wondering what these other ones are. I'm hoping that Texas wedge is in here somewhere.
Skill points available, which limits players to about 2/3 of the skills.
So this one here is putt weight proficiency.
How you choose to
This is putt rhythm proficiency that they're buying.
spend your skill points will be key.
And there it is. The Texas wedge. I love it. Powerful putting stroke intended for use off of the green. I will definitely be buying that.
Attribute points.
So one other quick thing I'm going to mention here while we're on the screen is there is a tab here for CHP, which I'm going to just assume is Clubhouse Pass. If it's not, then it's not. But if it is Clubhouse Pass, I'm intrigued. But there's also a little bit of concern here because what does that tab entail? If it's in this order here, does the Clubhouse Pass come with certain shot types? Because if that's the case, I'm a touch concerned if there ends up being some OP shot types that are only available in Clubhouse Passes, because then it could turn into more of a pay to win situation if everybody needs whatever that shot type is. Now, I do applaud them for the fact that the Clubhouse Passes don't have an expiration date. So obviously anyone at any time can get the Clubhouse Pass. So if there is a shot in there, a shot type that is a problem or is needed, then it's never going to like expire. So at least that's okay. But I'm a little concerned here about if there's any kind of OP shot types, number one, which there may not be. And if they're behind a Clubhouse Pass, that could pose as a problem.
Create the ideal golfer for you.
Very cool, though. I like that they brought that over. Just one last thought here on the shot types. Love that they brought it over. Was one of the best things I thought in the EA golf game. So I'm really happy they kind of married the two together. I'm really curious on the usage of the shot types, though. And I bring this up because the fact that we have the shot shaper in 2K, it really nullifies the need for multiple shot types like this because you kind of create multiple shot types manually. Whereas in the EA game, that wasn't necessarily a thing. So you had to rely on using more shot types to essentially do what the shot shaper was doing in 2K. So bringing the shot types over, but also having the shot shaper be a part of the mix, I'm just real curious how those are going to kind of mesh together. I hope it meshes well, and I hope these are super important and extremely impactful, and you run into multiple situations during your rounds where you wish you had a certain shot type and it puts you in a bad spot because you don't have something. That's what I'm hoping this happens. Like in terms of golf management and like course management, I really hope it hurts if you don't have a certain shot type in certain things, or if it doesn't really matter. There's going to be a handful of shot types that everybody gets because they're just really easy and kind of the easy button type stuff. And then it doesn't really matter if you don't have certain shot types because you can just use the shot shaper to kind of mimic those. So that'll be real interesting to see that dynamic unfold.
Much like attribute points, to create the ideal golfer for you.
All right,
In
on
PGA
to
Tour,
the equipment progression. And here's a look at the MyPlayer homepage. We got the Superstore, we've got Clubhouse Pass, we got progression, appearance and info, our outfits, and then our golf bag.
2K25, we're introducing equipment progression, the ability to earn experience on the clubs and balls that you choose to take into each round.
So this is brand new, right? Completely new system here for your fittings. You've got your upgrades, or these gems. You can level up the clubs now, which is brand new, and we'll kind of get into that. And then you can evolve the clubs, which is also interesting. So let's dive in and take a look.
Clubs will have the ability to be leveled up by set.
So this is interesting here. So you can level up the clubs by set, just by playing with them or using level up tokens.
Players can level up their clubs by either continually playing rounds with a chosen set of clubs, or by using level up tokens that they have earned or purchased. The level of your club will determine the amount of fitting slots it has. Level 1 clubs have 1 fitting slot available. Level 2 have 2.
So that's interesting, right? So these gem slots are determined by the level of your club. Level 1 will have 1 slot, level 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this Evo, which will be brought up a little bit later. Now the gems themselves, they of course correspond to the different attributes, right? So this gem is going to give you a boost to correction. This one is going to, these two actually, are going to be swing path. Now what's interesting here is it looks like this one, you have 2 of them, but then there's another one here. So I don't know why this wouldn't just marry there and be 3. So I don't know if maybe there's different types or different like tiers. That's kind of confusing there. But we also have, there's some for putting here that are grayed out because you're not upgrading putter.
So on. Fittings are back but very different, being used to improve the performance.
So this is interesting here. It looks like a quest reward. It's a power fitting. And then it looks like you're just kind of running through some of the things that you unlocked there for that round.
Performance of your club that.
Okay. So on this page, we've already seen the fitting side, so I'm not going to spend a ton more time on kind of how this all works. But one thing I wanted to point out in this screen is notice how the power is 99 right here. And so I don't know if that's also like in addition to your MyPlayer's power, or if this is just this club has 99 power. I don't know exactly how that works. I'm assuming it's in addition to your MyPlayer. But I'm bringing this up because watch what ends up happening here.
Benefit layered on top of your MyPlayer attribute.
So once it gets over this power fitting here, it doesn't let you add it. So it looks like the 99 is max for this, for the stats.
There, the core.
See that? So when it gets over to the shaping, you can remove it. And it adds shaping, it removes it, but you can't get above 99. What's also interesting too is 99 power apparently is 279 on the driver. So that's what makes me think that maybe that's governed by the archetype. So even though you're at 99 power, your archetype maxes its ceiling out at like 78 or something, right? So it'll be interesting to see kind of those in tandem with each other and see how those work together.
New equipment progression system, and our new approach is focused.
So here's something I wanted to bring to your attention, because I was a little worried about this too, is, all right, so you have all these fittings and all that, like, why would you need multiples if you can just use the same fittings and do different things? Well, when you replace fittings, they actually get destroyed. So I actually think this is a good thing. So if you have a power fitting in the slot and you want to put a swing, a different one in there, a swing path one, it actually destroys the current fitting, which would be the power fitting would get destroyed.
And simplifying things by making fittings universal. If your club uses that fittings attribute, you can equip it.
Well, that's cool. So remember in the previous game, you had head, shaft, and grip. And then you had, driver fittings, wood fittings, iron fittings, hybrid fittings, wedge fittings, and putter fittings. And it got pretty convoluted and it would get confusing. So universalizing all of this, I think, is the step in the right direction. My fear was that, oh, okay, well, if I can use this on anything, then why do I need more than just a handful? But these are getting answered here with some of my concerns where if you put one on and remove it, it gets destroyed. And the other thing here is coming up.
Reducing the number of attributes on a fitting.
So here is, yeah, so you do consume it once you put it on, right? So it gets destroyed if it gets removed.
Increasing the number of fittings that can be equipped to a club as you progress, allowing a single fitting to be applied to the entire set of clubs by type.
So that's cool. So you can apply the same fitting to your entire set of clubs. Now, my question with that is, what is a set? Is it driver to putter? Is it just what I talked about earlier? Is the driver a set? Is your woods a set? Irons a set? Hybrids a set? Wedges a set? And your putter is a
And
set?
finally,
is that how
removing
that works? Or is it literally just driver to putter?
VC cost to fit a club. Yes, fitting a set of clubs is now free with any fitting in your inventory.
Yes. So no longer do you need VC to put fittings into your clubs. So I applaud anytime they remove microtransactions from the game. So cheers to HB for that.
And PGA Tour 2K25 also have Evo Tiers.
So here is the Evo side, which was a touch confusing in the previous trailer. So I'm glad that they went in on this and explain it a lot better here.
Consist of 5 levels with increased boost.
So essentially how this works is once you level the club up and you put gems in here and it maxes it out, right? Then you get this Evo option. When you Evo it, it brings it up a tier. So remember in the previous game in 23, the fittings themselves had a tier system. This game does not do that. All the fittings are the same. It's the clubs that have the tier system. So basically you level the clubs up, and then when you Evo them, they go up to the next tier. And when that happens, it destroys all of your gems that are in the current tier, but then makes the boosts more. So from +2 to +4, from +4 to +6. So that's the way you kind of evolve that. So again, the tier system essentially got lumped into the club progression system here in 25. And this is also where you use your Evo tool to be able to do this. So this is also governed by having Evo tools. And we don't know how often those are going to be a part of, how often they drop, how you earn those. So that could also help govern just how often you're able to do this.
For each tier. Once you have completely leveled up a club.
So this is what I was talking about, right? So when you do Evo a club, all of your equipped fittings are destroyed. So I actually really like this because I was a touch concerned as much as I loved them getting rid of the VC cost. I was like, okay, well, what governs people from just dilly-dallying and swapping constantly? Well, this is your answer. Once you put a gem in a club, if you remove it, it gets destroyed. And then once you Evo a club, you lose all of those gems on that level of Evo, and then you start fresh with the next level of Evo.
You can use an Evo tool to evolve your clubs to the next tier, which
so notice now these are all +6 instead of +4, but there are no longer any gems in place. And it's just the first level of this that's unlocked. This is locked, locked, locked. So you basically start leveling up your Sapphire tier right now after you Evo it. I also noticed too that the higher your tier of club, the more level up tokens it costs to pay to just open these. And again, level up tokens are another currency. We've got the Evo tools, the level up, and then of course the VC.
Unlocks more powerful fitting slots.
Oh, one other thing too, it does mention consumable balls up here, but it never really gets into that. So I'm wondering if maybe the consumable balls work similarly to this. It was interesting they haven't shown them. I mean, maybe they're hiding something from us, but it'll be interesting to see like how the consumable balls work. I mean, I said this in my wish list video. As much as I didn't like the consumable balls in 23, I'd rather just get rid of them, which would be fine. But if they do return, which looks like they did, we just need them to be better balanced and maybe just a little less of an impact. Subtle stuff, in my opinion, because in real life, there's different golf balls that have different attributes, right? Some spin more, some fly further. There's different stuff there, but you can't have them change speed of greens like they did in 23. That was just a really big miss. And then they just weren't balanced very well either. So hopefully that's been kind of figured out, but I am looking forward to whenever we get a little bit of a look into whatever those consumable balls are and how those will work.
With all the customization on offer.
So this is cool too, right? This is something I also mentioned in my wish list video. You can now have
In PGA Tour
multiple
2K25,
golf
we wanted you
bag
to have the opportunity to be able to
loadouts.
customize your clubs across multiple golf bags.
See that? So you have golf bag 2, which you can unlock at level 10.
So you always have access
Golf bag 3 is level 20.
to a set that might be more tailored to.
And golf bag 4 is at level 40. So cool, you guys. Like, this is going to be a big deal. We've been wanting this for a while as well. It's definitely something that I love seeing here as an addition. The ability to basically set up multiple golf bags for different types of courses. You know, maybe if you have a course that's really long, you add an extra hybrid or something and lose a wedge. Or maybe in a shorter course where you need more precision, then you add a wedge and take out a wood or something like that. So it'll be really cool to be able to have some flexibility here and be able to build out multiple golf bag loadouts, and then just, you know, before the round, be able to take the clubs in that you need, or before the tournament. I really hope it's before the tournament, to be honest, because I think that's how it works in real life. I'm not 100% sure exactly how they govern that in the PGA side, but something there that just lets you not do it, you know, leave mid-round and come back in with different clubs, which I think they do currently in 23.
Specific type of course. As you can see,
Ooh, back to the stinger.
there are a lot of improvements and new features in PGA Tour 2K25 to
love
help
this
you
shot
create
here.
your own experience on the tour. At HB, 2 of our core pillars are self-expression.
This is a good shot here too. And another look at the HUD here. It says co-leader here. That's cool. It's got you at the AT&T 10th. So I wonder if this is 10th on the leaderboard right now, or if that's 10th in the standings for the FedEx Cup. It does have the FedEx Cup there, so that'll be cool there. But I do kind of like this this new look. Actually, the other one was different than this, wasn't it? I wonder if they have different. Maybe this is a dated look, or maybe this is maybe these are different per tournament, which would be interesting.
And golf authenticity.
Oh man, okay. This answers my question from earlier. Remember, we saw this shot, and he hits it down the hill, and it rolls all the way. Well, look at this. It's a bump and run shot type, so we can add that shot type to the mix there too. Bump and run, ladies and gentlemen.
And we're really excited how we've been able to bring these 2 pillars together to allow you to craft your own unique journey through the ranks and onto your way to becoming the greatest of all time on the PGA Tour.
And there it is, February 28th, ladies and gentlemen. I am very, very excited. Thanks to Lawrence and to Ken for the walkthrough. Look forward to the next one. All right, there we go. There is my lengthy breakdown of today's Dev Diary, focusing on MyPlayer and MyCareer. Thank you so much for 2K and HB for putting that together. That was absolutely fantastic. If you guys like this channel and like the content I create, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I appreciate all of you, and we'll see you on the next PGA Tour 2K25 video. Cheers.